And, it's interesting. You might think that it's a little bit difficult to mix business and training all together in one weekend seminar. I used to think so, too. But we had the kernel of this idea a while ago, and Jean and I have sort of interesting jobs in that we don't work so much with the dogs anymore. We work with you. And, Jean has the new Academy for Dog Trainers, which is an amazing program, really, honestly, the most comprehensive of its kind, incredible. And so she has the pleasure of working with dog trainers all across the country every day. And I do, too, through the business consulting work that we do at Dog Tech. I'm talking to dog trainers all across the country every day. And it's a really interesting vantage point because it's a great place from which to see and notice trends and patterns. And even though the country's so diverse and your experiences across the country are so diverse, there are some things we notice that we tend to see trainers have in common. And that's what this weekend is about, is looking at the myths that we carry, whether training myths or business myths, some of the practices that we engage in because they've been handed down to us from generation to generation, some of the misunderstandings we have, basically all of these pieces we struggle underneath that keep us from attaining the next level. Okay. So, train at the next level, I said, we're going to be talking about some of these myths and things that keep us back, and I think that there's no better place to start than with this one, the myth that clients must train their own dogs. This is a pervasive one in our industry, and it really does make sense on the surface of it, doesn't it? That, you hear this all the time, well, but the clients are the ones that live with the dogs. They have to be the ones to train them because they're every day, and we can't be. And it's true, they are every day there, and we can't be there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be the one to train it, because as you start to really look at this myth and its implications, the logic of it starts to fall apart.
So my goal for you this weekend is to add a few cookie cutters to your life, okay? There's nothing wrong with cookie cutters, especially if they work, especially if they give you really good cookies, quickly, efficiently, and you're on to the next case. Okay, so let's say your rate is low. So let's say you do that. You say, oh boy, I'm going to try and, I'm going to up my game. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see how's my rate of reinforcement. And you take a 10-minute sample, and it turns out you're averaging 4 or 4.5 or something. You go, holy crap. I need to have a better rate of reinforcement. What are some things you can implement to up your rate? Let's look at them. Drop criteria. So and to drop criteria, you'll think, well, wait a second, how do I just drop criteria? That might mean a couple of things. One, having a more incremental plan, okay, a splittier plan, if you will.
Okay, so our next business myth, our first myth of the morning is that clients want to fix their relationship with their dogs. No, they don't. No, they don't. They're not actually aware in most cases that the relationship is broken. That hadn't actually occurred to them. They just want an easy button. They want an easy button to living easily with their dog, and you should give it to them. Because if you don't, the traditional trainer across town will. Okay, so as in my work as a business consultant for dog professionals, I review a lot of websites, lots and lots and lots of websites of trainers all across the country. And these are the types of marketing messages that I see most often on websites. Improve your relationship with your dog, learn how to communicate with your dog, learn how to give your dog what he needs, and we'll teach you how to train your dog. I see some form of these messages over and over and over again. And here's the thing, they don't work.
So from here on, I'm going to do a segment on fear and aggression, adding it to your practice, including a primer on Pavlovian conditioning, how it works, fear and aggression, kind of what to expect. And then in the segment this afternoon, I'm going to zero in, just to give more detail, I'm going to just pluck out one type, and that's dog-dog play, specifically bullying. What do you do about it? It's kind of an overview first and then drilling progressively down to that problem. Because I think it's, especially around here, it's a good thing to add to your practice.
Business myth of the weekend is that trainers don't get weekends. the trick is, if you want time off, you have to take it, because you don't have a boss who's going to give it to you. You're the boss. You have to take it. I was once giving a talk at one of the APDT conferences, and I would guesstimate that there were 200 or 300 people in the room, and I asked how many of you on a at least reasonably regular basis have 2 days off a week. And about 2 people raised their hands in a room full of 200 to 300 people. And I said, okay, well, one day. How about one day? And I got about a dozen takers. Right? We can't do it sustainably if we're doing it that way. Right? We have to have the time off, and it's a myth that you can't have it. Right? You're in charge. So what are we going to do?
Okay. Here's the definition. So there is some normal play. That's really important. Because the play skill deficited dog, there is no normal play. It's the same style across the board. Okay, so triage, choices, and trainer prerequisites, diagnostics, and the execution of P-. That's going to be our wrap-up. Why are we going to use P-? What happened to DRI? Because bullies are not upset, so we're on the right side of the flow chart. Why not give them the 1-2 punch of differentially reinforcing good and punishing evil? Time out, that's it, you're going home. Why aren't we reinforcing good? Yes, exactly. Built-in reinforcement. Okay, they're playing. What are you going to reinforce? You know, it's a self-reinforcing behavior, so you're off the hook. There's automatic DRI. So all you got to do is add the P- part. Very, very tidy B-mod. That's why I think in terms of dog, putting your toes in the water, it's a good place to start. It's very clear. You just got to do it though, and therein lies the rub. Okay, so here's our flow chart. Not upset, no DRI. The reinforcement's built in.
We've covered a lot of ground the last couple of days, and you know when you are on the airplane and they give you all of the advice about, here's how we're going to, here's where your safety things are, and follow the little lines around the floor, and your flotation devices under your seat, and all that sort of good stuff. And what's the one thing they always tell you about the oxygen mask? All right. Put your own oxygen mask on first, then help others. And so just a quick little close about avoiding burnout, because one of the reasons that Jean and I do this from a really genuine place for us is to keep you guys in the game. It doesn't hurt to ask, right? They're going to ask. But if you just say no, believe me, you're not going to lose the client. Pursue your networking, continuing education. I don't really have to tell you that you're here or you're watching the video. I mean, that's something that's already valuable to you. But it's so important to be thinking about it from a support perspective, and one of the things I often hear from trainers is they'll say, well, I was really feeling a little bit burnt out, or I was feeling a little tired, and I went to this event, and oh my God, I'm just energized and ready to go again. We hope we've done that this weekend. That's a reason to do it just for yourself too, but also for the profession. Gina said it a number of times, and I bemoan it all the time too. There are advantages to being part of an unregulated profession, but there are serious disadvantages too. And even though you don't have to do this, you do anyway, and that is the mark of a professional. And I think it's so important. You deserve it. Your clients deserve it. The dogs do.